Hey there folks, welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art, and culture. And today we're going to be talking about the new album from Weird Al Yankovic, titled Mandatory Fun. If you've been following this review series for a while now, you might have come to a certain conclusion about yours truly. That I am, despite all appearances, a total nerd. And I'm here to inform you that, well, yeah, duh. Amazing what the passage of time has done, really. 20 or even 10 years ago, such an admittance would be tantamount to social suicide. But in today's day and age, where the Big Bang Theory can run over 7 seasons, conventions for comics and video games are attended by tens of thousands of people, if not more, and comic books and toy movies can list A-list talent and break box office records and even get critical acclaim, admitting that I've got deep nerdy interest is, and indeed never should have been, it's not an object of remorse or shame. And yeah, I'm the kind of nerd who has hundreds of fantasy and sci-fi novels, who can quote Monty Python and Star Wars verbatim, used to be a dungeon master when playing D&D, occasionally still goes to Magic the Gathering tournaments, has a physics degree, and I actually have Aragorn's sword Anduril from Lord of the Rings mounted on my wall just out of frame. And like the majority of nerds, I love Weird Al Yankovic, the legendary polka comedy performer who has spent over 30 years parodying pop music with a razor-sharp wit and a relentlessly upbeat sense of humor. Now, it should go without saying that the man by now is a cultural treasure with extraordinary wit and talent, and beloved by artists and pop satirists all around the world. And it's impressive that he can still come up with innovative and very relevant comedy for so long in his career without becoming bitter or jaded or hotly political. But over the past few years, something decidedly odd has taken place. The world, and especially the internet, they grew up and they embraced nerd culture, and suddenly it wasn't just Weird Al making comedy songs and videos and parodies. And given how damn quickly so many of them work, especially on YouTube with its 5-minute attention span, it's a little bit unsettling to think that Weird Al might end up being crowded out of the market that he helped create. Or worse, that his material might not be as relevant given the lightning turnaround time that so many YouTube comedians and parody acts have in today's day and age. That was one of the issues that I found when I listened to his last album, Alpocalypse, which took material from across 3 years of pop music. And while I did like a great deal of it, had one of his best songs on it, there was still parts of that album that even then on that record just felt a little bit dated, at least to me. But you know what? Putting that minor concern aside, this is Weird Al, and if his appearance on Epic Rap Battles of History didn't prove that the man still had enormous chops, I don't know what would. So of course, I was excited for his newest album, Mandatory Fun. And since none of the album had actually managed to leak ahead of time, which is pretty impressive in today's day and age, I had no idea what to expect. He didn't release a single. So was this album as fun and hilarious as I was hoping for? Well, yeah, definitely. It's Weird Al. It shouldn't be any surprise that Mandatory Fun is almost exactly its title. A great comedy album that's got a ton of fun, with a fair amount of wit and charm, without a need to get filthy or step into tasteless territory. Is it perfect by Weird Al standards? No, I wouldn't say that, but it's a ton of fun and definitely worth your time if you're a fan or you're just looking for a laugh. I definitely dug this. Now, my policy when it comes to reviewing comedy, I normally avoid it, in any form is just a straightforward acknowledgement right out of the gate that I tend to like humor when it's too clever for its own good and can make some level of intelligent commentary on society at large and yet still have something of a heart beneath it. That's why I tend to like shows like Community and Seinfeld and Arrested Development, and comedians like the late and great George Carlin, and that's why I find them so damn funny and yet very insightful. It also means that humor that falls into the vein of the awkward slash dark slash edgy for its own sake, or just traditionally a lot broader, doesn't tend to click with me as well. In Weird Al's case, when it comes to his parody material, the stuff that I really love from him falls into 2 camps. The solid songs, artists, and styles that I already like and are only enhanced by the parody, or the music that the parody paradoxically makes more tolerable, because he's parodied some stuff I really don't like. And on this record, we definitely get some on both categories. In the former category, I love the twisted direction that Weird Al takes with the Lorde parody Foil and his adaptation of blurred lines, solid instrumentation into a screed against incorrect grammar. That was amazing. As a writer, I really love that, and it'll likely replace the original in my mind at least. My Own Eyes is a fantastic, absurdist interpretation of the Foo Fighters. I don't want to spoil everything he says, but it's awesome. The approaching mimetic song Tacky it's better written and significantly more fun and interesting than Pharrell's Happy, at least for me, in lampooning garish, self-obsessed culture. And I even kind of like this version of Imagine Dragons' bombast in Inactive about a song doing absolutely nothing. Bruno Mars, this is what the lazy song could have been. Eat your heart out. But my absolute favorite parody, and probably my favorite song on this record, was Mission Statement, a Crosby, Stills and Nash parody that adapts an old George Carlin joke about the emptiness and soullessness of corporate language that was just goddamn phenomenal, and all the more poignant for me given my current desk job. And at the later category, and the one songs that I don't quite like as much and could be improved by the parody, well, Handy shows that Weird Al is a damn solid rapper still, and parodying Iggy Azalea's Fancy, and yet even manages to slide in a couple of clever sexual double entendres similar to what Iggy Azalea does when playing off her sexuality in that song, and he does it with hardware store references. And as somebody who absolutely despises Cat Stevens, Jackson Park Express was not only a fantastic stand-up of singer-songwriters in that vein, but also a presumptuous culture in the male gaze and misread non-verbal cues when it comes to hookups taken to its logical extreme. The number of things that go on in that song completely unsaid was just hilarious for me. Now, that's not saying all of the jokes on this album are smashes. I've never really liked Weird Al's songs touching on more of a celebrity culture, and despite the pretty solid instrumentation parodying Southern culture on the Skids, I was mostly ambivalent to Lane claim to fame. It just didn't work for me. The Pixies parody First Word Problems suffered a lot of the same issue, just wasn't my thing. Sure, there was some wit there, and it sounded better than anything that Pixies have put on record recently, but you know what? I've seen so many YouTube videos at this point lampooning First World Problems that the joke just felt completely flat. And while I did like the kitschy style of sports song, the jokes here felt a little bit uninspired, especially considering sport cheers in this vein have been parodied for decades. And while it's clear that Weird Al definitely gets the internet through his various references, especially on Tacky and Word Crimes, there are a few references throughout the sound that can't help but come across as just a little bit too kitschy, even for me. Now, this takes us to instrumentation and production. And look, I have a ton of respect for Weird Al's band and his gift for recreating beats and the mixes of the artists that he's parodying. He's pretty damn great at it, especially behind the production booth. And the original compositions that he brings forward are incredibly solid. Although I think his polka mix starts off a little bit slow, it's still infinitely more enjoyable than some of the songs he's actually parodying, and he actually managed to make pumped up kicks and Sexy and I Know It somewhat tolerable for me. Who knew that was possible? But that said, I can't help but wish that the music industry at large would just realize that Weird Al, national treasure, once I said again, and at least let him work with some of the producers who helped create some of those songs originally so he can more aptly mimic some of the instrumentation and production. Now, for the most part, he's really damn close. Word Crimes, Foil, and Mission Statement are probably the closest to matching that original sound, or even improving on it somewhat with Foil, in my opinion. But the mixes on Inactive and My Own Eyes could have been a little less muddy, and a few tracks could have used a little bit less pop gloss to make them feel a little bit more organic or a little bit closer to the original. That's the problem with some of Weird Al's tracks. They can come across as a little sterile, a little too chipper and polished. A little bit less of that might have helped in the end. But you know what? Overall, a Weird Al album needs to make me laugh, and dear God, I laugh so much with this record. And while I don't think that this album has my favorite polka mix, or that this record has the immediate smash hit of White and Nerdy, or the sheer zany awesomeness of my favorite Weird Al songs like Trapped in the Drive-Thru, The Biggest Ball of Twine in Minnesota, Hardware Store, Don't Download the Song, Albuquerque, and Stop Sending That Crap to Me, it's still a damn solid record and definitely worth plenty of listens. Like all Weird Al albums, it will likely feel a little bit dated in a year or two from now, probably less given the way that the internet operates and the high speed of turnover, but you know what, this album is very good and damn close to great, so I'm giving it a cautious 8 out of 10 and definitely a recommendation. And for a comedy artist 30 years into his career, being able to still deliver the laughs is very high praise indeed. All you guys, go buy this album. It's really funny. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you'd like to like and subscribe, I'd be more than grateful. If there's any other albums coming out this year that you want me to cover, or there's anything else I might be able to do to improve my presentation, I'd be more than happy to do it. Until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Spectrum Pulse. I'll see you next time.